The Force Awakens had a lot of work to do. It needed to catch us up on the state of the galaxy's political landscape, reintroduce old favorite characters, old favorite themes, and introduce new characters, all while telling a cohesive and compelling story. Some of these were handled better than others. But I digress. I'm willing to overlook these issues since the way that we're introduced to our new characters is expertly executed in my opinion. None of which more so than the introduction of Rey. And we learned about her character without hearing a single word from her. Seriously, we spent nearly 5 minutes just watching Rey go about her normal workday. Some might consider this to be dead space, but to me, it is so much more than that. Alright, so we'll start at the top. Let's have a look at the first shot we see of our hero. Do you notice anything important about this shot? Rey's face is completely covered, making her anonymous. Now, why would they choose to do this? We all know who she, quote, is from the trailers, but beyond that, we don't really know who she is as a character. So they start us with what is essentially a blank slate. This gives us exactly what any hero needs, the ability to be relatable to the viewer. When you cover a character's face, it allows anyone to see themselves in those face wraps, especially when they're doing something that we all do, work. The next thing I'd like to mention is the lack of music. I'm not talking over anything right now but the wind and the groaning of the dead ship. Very few things are more important than the score of a film, and one of the most important and tricky things is to know when to avoid using one. Yes, film scores can give us great insight into what's happening on screen, but the lack of music here is allowing us as the audience to completely concentrate on the visuals, forcing us to see Rey as someone who is proficient and practiced, someone who isn't lost or scared, someone who knows her environment and is completely comfortable in this hellish place. Next we have Rey drinking some water and setting out for Niima Outpost. It's only now, after we've already started to develop some basic understanding of the character, that we're allowed to put a face to her. The nearly empty canteen further displays the desperate reality of Jakku, the struggle of survival. And furthermore, I'd like to point out what I feel is the brilliance of showing Rey sledding down this sand dune. This, combined with the rope slide from earlier, further reinforces her expertise and skills to the adults watching, while also allowing the children in the audience to see Rey doing something that they do all the time: play. Also, note that the music begins to kick in here. The almost music box-like beginning of Rey's theme invokes, at least in me, almost a fairy tale vibe to the sequence, and it builds to a grand theme of adventure as she embarks on her regular trip to Niima Outpost. Now that we're at Niima Outpost, we see one of Rey's possible futures, or rather, Rey sees one of her possible futures. The way Rey stares at this old woman here, doing the same sort of work that Rey is doing, is almost like looking into a bizarro mirror. A future in which she never escapes the daily grind of scraping by. She could easily grow old and die here, stuck in the same routine of mindless work. This tells us two things about her character. Number one, even though that she's been here long enough to become an expert of surviving Jakku, she doesn't want to be here. And number two, Rey is afraid that she will be stuck here forever, at least on an unconscious level. This may be the first time it really dawns on her, or she may simply have allowed the thought to resurface, but she quickly suppresses it as she continues to focus on her work. As we move on to Unkar's stall, we get to see why she's scavenging. We begin to understand the economic situation of Jakku. She's not working for money, she's working for food, further expressing just how dire the situation here on Jakku is. Finally, let's move on to Rey's home. We see our hero settling in after a long day at work, marking off just another day, just like the thousands of days that came before it. And here is where we first start to really comprehend the scope of time that Rey has endured. And as she heads outside, we see another thing with many meanings, the ship taking off in the distance. Number one, this shows us that there are ways off planet. Rey could leave, stow away, by passage, but she still remains on Jakku. This means that something is keeping her here. Perhaps she's waiting for something, or someone. Number two, Rey's expression after putting on this X-Wing helmet shows some small bit of longing, telling us that she's either already a pilot or really wants to be a pilot, especially when we think back to the X-Wing pilot doll inside of her home. And number three, and most importantly, Rey isn't broken yet. This harsh world has not broken her. We still see a bit of joy in her expression. She still has the same capacity to feel moments of happiness and hope like all of us, even on this desperate, desolate world. And little does Rey know that the catalyst of adventure and freedom lies just beyond the sand dune. And that does it for the voice recording. Now for the outro. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you guys enjoyed episode 2 of Star Warsology. I look forward to making the next one. The next one is going to definitely be on Duel of the Fates. My top 3 or so moments on Duel of the Fates, or maybe just an analysis of the duel in general. I am super, super excited to work on that. Let me know what you guys thought about this installment of Star Warsology. I know that the first episode kind of turned into a weird theory video, but let me know what you guys thought about this particular format, because this is kind of the format that I thought of when I first envisioned doing this series. So I'm very interested in what you guys have to say about that. Please let me know down in the comments down below. If you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button for more Star Warsology, book reviews, and all of that kind of fun stuff. And also hit like on this video. It lets me know that I'm doing something right. Thank you guys as always for your time, and as always, may the Force be with you. Take care.